What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Occupation Nation podcast. This is Season 1, Episode 2. And before we go any further, I just want to say thank you for checking us out. I had a lot of fun doing this, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you learn a little bit as well. Now, today on the show, we have our first interview, and that is with Mr. Jimmy Oliver. And he did a really good job kind of laying it out there and making it easy to know kind of what's going on in the day. There's some really fun stories in there, talking about a couple things he's went through and what he's done. And you'll notice in there, it kind of just seems like we stopped talking at the end, but it's because me and Jimmy just started talking for a good while, and I thought it'd be better to break it into a part 1 and part 2. So be on the lookout for part 2. Make sure to go down there and leave us a review, whether good or bad. Just be truthful, and make sure to subscribe to keep up to date. And so without further ado, let's get into it. So what do you do?
I'm a detective, captain over detectives for Marshall County Sheriff's Department.
Okay, so what does that mean? Like, what's your role?
I oversee investigations. I've got three detectives under me. I hand out cases. When cases come in, I assign them, which I have to work on my own self also. I got to keep up with everybody's time, on call. I got to set on call schedules, vacation, evidence, any of the evidence that comes in, either from the deputies or detectives. I'm the one that's in charge of all that. I've got to log it in our evidence locker, log it out when they need it, or make sure it gets sent to TBI or wherever it needs to go. I'm in charge of that. I got to keep up with all that.
And who's TBI?
Tennessee Bureau of Investigations.
Okay. So is there a lot of paperwork involved in that? Or it sounds like it could be.
It's not that much. Usually, like if one of the deputies brings in evidence, they'll tag it, with what it is, case number, and then we've got a location that they can lock it up. Then I have a key to that location. I'll take it out of that, and then I'll log it into a big vault, and I got to keep up with where I put it in there. We have like a log. I fill that out, and then say if it's something that's sent to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations for analysis, whether it be drugs or whatever, blood stains, fingerprints, they have a sheet they fill out for TBI, and so then I'll get one of my other detectives, I'll pull it out of the vault, I'll get a detective to take it to Nashville. They'll sign off, Nashville, the TBI will sign off on it and take it, and then we just give a copy of that back to the deputy or detective, whoever. That way they put in their case file. Because when you get to court, your evidence may not be back, and then when the DA or whoever wants to know where's this evidence at, you can say, well, on this date, I took it to
because you kind of want that bread trail there.
Yes.
To show where it's been at each piece. So how long have you been doing that?
I've been doing investigations roughly, I'm thinking close to 15 years.
Okay.
I started in 92 as a dispatcher, and I did that I started in February of 92, and then in November of 92, I got hired as a deputy. Went to the academy in January of 93, and worked as a deputy for 4 or 5 years, and I went to the Lewisburg Police Department and worked on patrol there, night shift. Got promoted to corporal, was more or less assistant supervisor of the night shift. Rolled a day shift. Eventually got promoted to corporal on day shift, and done that for a while, and then went back to the sheriff's department. Got offered another job back there. Come back to the sheriff's department and worked. I worked 3 or 4 years, and I went back to the police department because I got in there. That's when I got offered a detective job.
When you first started, and did you have this idea that you wanted to be a detective? Was that the end game for you, or was that just you didn't know?
Yeah, I didn't even know I wanted to be in law enforcement.
Oh, okay.
You see kids in high school, and there's several that I want to be a policeman, I want to be a fireman.
Mm-hmm.
I've I never did. It never crossed my mind for law enforcement.
What would your HR be looking for in someone? Like if I was like, all right, this sounds interesting to me, I want to jump into this. What's a good characteristic that you're looking for in somebody?
Yeah. We're looking for somebody that's, want to be clean cut looking. I mean, it ain't good to come in with gauges in your ears, and hair down your back, and scruffy. Come in, look professional, clean cut. That because like we have a human resources for the county, but as far as any of the hiring for deputies or whatever, we do that in house. And a lot of times the sheriff, chief deputy, me, or one of the other detectives will be in on the interview process. But we're looking for somebody that what's your work history. If you come and apply with us and you've worked at 9 departments and never stayed at any of them for over a year or two,
not a good look.
Yeah, why? So we're looking for that. We don't want anybody that's like, I guess, cocky. I mean, I
understand.
You got some officers out there that once they get that badge and gun,
goes to their head.
Yeah. You don't want that. Especially with the county, you want somebody level-headed, can make decisions, because they're representing the sheriff.
As you go on, what are some of the things you had to do to like build up to where you are now in terms of like schooling or education?
Well, like me, I just had a high school education.
Right. From the get, right?
From the get-go. And most Marshall County is a pretty small department, Lewisburg, and usually high school education is all you got to have. Now, if you get on, like, say, at Brentwood, Metro, they want a 4-year degree.
Okay.
Don't matter what it's in. It can be basketball.
You just got to have that.
They just want that piece of paper.
Yep.
And a lot of them will do, I don't know if Brentwood still does, but it would be like 2 years of college associate's degree plus 4 years of law enforcement experience.
Okay. So your experience can kind of make up for that.
And the same thing like Metro, they'll have. I've had three friends that's they'll have that where they'll get started. You've already been certified, so you've been a police officer for 10 years. We'll take that instead of your 4 years of college.
Gotcha. So there's multiple paths you can take to get in there, but for you it was just high school.
Yeah,
that was it, and then you jumped in, and then so as you moved up, did you have to go? I know you said you had to go to police academy.
Yes.
So that was the next step. Is that right?
When I got told I was going to be a deputy, as in November, then I went to the academy of that in January, and back when I went, it was only 8 weeks long.
Gotcha.
Which I remember at that time, it seemed like it was forever, because me and Becky, we've been married for about 2.5 years. We've never been away, and at the academy, you're there. You had to report like Sunday at 4:00, and then get to come back home. I think when I went through, we got to come back home Thursday night. So you'd have Friday and Saturday, and then go back Sunday. And it was 8 weeks long. I think now they moved it up to 12 weeks long, and it's still Sunday through, and they might have stretched out till Friday.
Gotcha.
Half a day Friday or something like that.
So 12 weeks is what you're looking at.
Much. When I went through and I got out of the academy, my training consisted of 7 days. We worked 12-hour shifts. So I think I graduated on a Friday, come to work on Monday. I worked Monday and Tuesday with a deputy. I was with him Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then the next Wednesday, Thursday. So it was about 7 days. And then they said, all right, good luck. You're on night shift. And then I was just...
And then you're just thrown out there.
Yeah, and back then it was just 2 of us on nights.
Okay.
And so I went to nights.
So you're in.
Yeah, and it was kind of you learn as you go.
Yeah.
I'll never forget my first DUI. pulled him over. I mean, I could tell he was drunk just as driving. Pulled him over, don't feel sobriety, out there all alone.
Oh, man.
Nervous. Arrested him.
Was this the first night?
I'd probably done work like a week or two.
Okay, so you're still fresh. And did you see him like driving? You're like, uh-oh, it's game time.
Yeah, I just saw him. I'm like, this guy might be drunk.
Yeah.
And so I arrested him, and I remember I got him to the jail. I was young, I was excited, my first real arrest, and back then you wrote out the warrants. I have no idea how to fill this out. And my captain at the time, he come in, and I was like, hey, can you help me out? I don't know how to fill this warrant out. And, especially like how I got my probable cause, blah, blah, blah. And he went and got a worthless check warrant and just kind of pitched everything. So just filled out kind of like that and walked off. So I had to kind of learn on my own. And, and back then you did. You learned.
Yeah.
They just, here you go to work.
Yeah.
Which now we've got, I'm not sure how many weeks. I'm thinking 6 to 8 weeks is a training period for our deputies now when they
come in.
Yeah, usually.
Do you get like a person that you get like a mentor or something, or?
Yeah, it's got to be somebody that'll keep paperwork up on you.
Gotcha.
Make sure you know the laws, how to get around the county. They'll do all of that, and then you start out, you're riding with them, and then eventually you're driving and the deputy's riding with you, and
so it's less of just go do it and more of here's how you do it, let's do it together, and then it's you.
It's like watch me.
Yep.
All right, now it's your turn.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's when I left the county and went to the city. I didn't go through an FTO. It's just they stuck me in a car, and because there you had zones. It was zone 4, 5, and 6. It's all right. You're in zone 6. Here's the keys to your car. And I worked there for 3 or 4 months. And I guess somebody finally said, "Well, we don't got any kind of paperwork in his file to show, his FTO." And so then they put me with the sergeant and said, "Well, ride about 3 nights with him," and which I knew the sergeant real good. So, and it's just he got a free chauffeur for about 3 or 4 nights.
Oh, I got you. Yeah. But so if I was looking into starting where you started, what would I do?
You just like with our department, you put an application in.
Do I find that online, or do I go somewhere?
With ours, you got to come to the sheriff's department.
Gotcha.
Because after you fill it out, then it's got to be witnessed by an employee there.
Gotcha.
You put your application in, whether it be, which we don't hire dispatchers no more. It's a whole new.
Okay.
Before we had our own. Sheriff's Department had dispatchers. Lewisburg had dispatchers. But then they done the 911 system, so now it's their own department.
Gotcha.
And but you put an application in for deputy or CO.
What's a CO?
It's a correctional officer, and your best to get on is a correctional officer.
Gotcha.
Because if you go to work to jail, you might have to work there 2-3 years. But if you make a good employee, then that's usually where we're going to try to hire from.
Right. Get your foot in the door, and if you're good, then you're going to get noticed.
Yeah, and it's a lot of times departments, we got to look for people a lot of times already certified. And just to send an officer to the police academy is I think our department's got to pay $3,300.
Okay.
And you think, well, that ain't too bad.
Well, still investing money in someone you have no idea about.
And also, you're investing that. That's just for the schooling. Now you got to pay for their salary, their car, their equipment. Just sending somebody to the academy, you probably got $15,000 invested in them.
Right.
By the time they get ready to go.
Yeah. So does that mean you guys have to do like a thorough interviewing process, or do you kind of just say, hey, this person seems good, let's take the risk on them, or how does that work?
Usually we'll do an interview process, background checks, and like now with social media and stuff,
You dig into that. So that's right. Be careful what you put on social media because it'll get you.
Yeah. Because we've had people that we didn't hire because, we get a looking through Instagram, Facebook, whatever.
Yeah.
And
it's like, all right, now I don't know, because they don't know you don't know who they are, and they don't know who you are, and so we're going off what we know. And if you're on Facebook doing all this crazy stuff, acting a fool, then I don't know,
We'll check. They'll put down people. Now I worked at Lewisburg. I was kind of in charge when I was over investigations. I had more input or more. I was more or less given. Right, looking at hiring this person, and they're like, say if you applied, I'd come out here in your neighborhood. I'd look at your house, right up and down your road.
That's smart.
If you had neighbors across the street, I'd go over and knock on the door. Hey, it's guy over here, Zach. You know him? What can you tell me?
Yeah, he's a clown.
And you get, you have some neighbors, I can't stand them. They're playing music or they're doing this.
Yeah.
And
it makes a difference, each piece. I mean,
because
you're trying to build this profile for this person, you don't know who they are, and you're saying, hey, come work for us.
And if they have problems in their neighborhood and they become a police officer, then those problems are going to come to the department, because then,
it's almost like baggage.
Yeah. Well, Zach, he's my neighbor and he's a deputy and he can get away with this. And I'm going to call the sheriff. The sheriff don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
And so then we have to call them in like, hey, I don't know what you're doing, but,
please stop
it.
So let's get into what a day is like for you. So what are your hours, first of all?
Usually we work 42 hours a week. Usually our days come in, we come in at 8 in the morning and work till 4, and then usually 2 days out of the week. And usually our days are Tuesdays and Fridays. We'll work till 5.
Okay. That's not horrible hours at all.
And it could change. If I got something I want to do Friday, I could work Monday and Tuesday my night.
So are you salary or hourly?
Hourly.
Gotcha.
We get paid hourly, plus we get on call. Because like next week I go on call. Next Friday I'll be on call. So I'll work from 8 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. And then I'm on call where I can be called out.
At any time?
At any time.
After 5 or during the day?
Yeah, like during the day after 5.
Okay, so it's just your day.
Right. So, they can call me out at 6 o'clock at night, and I may not get back home till lunchtime the next day.
Oh, gotcha. So it's just you got to do what you got to do.
Right. And then, they'll call you on Saturday, Sunday, and you have to, I don't know, we'll have some call like at 2 in the morning just to ask a question. It's just like
you just got to suck it up and answer. I guess
this is what I got. What do you think?
Yeah,
and you do that. 2017, when I got shot, I was out March, April, May, June. I think I was out close to 4 months or something like that.
I want to come back to the getting shot, but what is required of you during the day?
I have active cases. I see what I can do on those cases that day. The other guys, the same thing. Which with us, you may be working on this case, and then all of a sudden the DA calls. Hey, I need you up here to go over.
So it's like priority stuff takes over sometimes. Yeah, and I got you.
And it's kind of, if an inmate has a problem over at the jail, they'll send in a request to talk to investigators. Well, this correctional officer's been mean to me or abused me, or another inmate's committed vandalism or theft or something. They'll come and we have to deal with that. But mostly worker cases, if we're kind of dead on your case, you can't go nowhere. You're either doing office work.
Are you hands-on? Like, when I say hands-on, are you, like, going places? When you say working a case, what does that mean?
I've had cases take me to St. Paul, Minnesota.
Okay. So does that mean you're, like, interviewing people, you're asking questions, or, like, you're doing the things that I think of when I think of a detective, I guess?
Because we do all the interviewing, in our investigation.
Yeah. So you're finding people. You're asking around. You're seeing what the evidence is. You're doing all that good stuff.
Yeah. Like if we have a burglary, I'm going to go talk to neighbors. Anybody see anything? Mm-hmm. May look up. They may have a camera or something, next door.
Yeah. So you're a problem solver. You're a puzzle solver.
Yeah, and then you're looking for evidence, whether you can get fingerprints. Like a fingerprint, they run it through what they call AFIS, and if your prints are ever, like my prints would be in there, it can come back as this could possibly be, Zach Horvath.
Gotcha.
And then I come look for you and say,
you question me. Yeah. Where was I? What was I doing?
At this house? I don't even know him people. I've never been there.
Do you get that a lot?
Oh, yeah.
I'm about to say, if you came to me, I'd be like, I don't know, man. I don't.
And most of them, that's what you get.
Yeah.
It's human nature. If I pretty much know you done something, and I want you to admit it, and I give you two scenarios, and say you robbed the bank, and I'm like, Zach, I know you robbed the bank. There's no question that you robbed this bank. Now, did you rob this bank because you're just a slimy, thief, that you got a drug problem, you don't care about nobody, you just want that money? But I also know, Zach, you're about to have a child, and it's expensive. And, you're thinking of, I want to be able to provide for that baby and for my wife. Now, did you rob that bank to try to provide for your wife and child, or you're just a drug head? Which one did you do? And you'd be surprised I done it for my wife.
Yeah, yeah.
Because people want to tell you when they've done something wrong.
Right. When you put it in that light, they're like, oh, well.
I look better doing this.
I'm a good person. Yeah. Yeah.
And I've got several confessions just using stuff like that. And especially if I know they've done it, I'm just needing that confession. You can mess up, and I've done it before. I had a case one time back years ago, and that's one thing about you learn from cases. Where a guy is a vandalism case, but the place had a camera. It was an old VCR camera. Of course, it didn't work. But I brought the boy in, and then, sitting right there on my desk, VCR tape, and it wasn't even from there. It was just a VCR tape I had. But on the back of it, I put the business on there. Just wrote the business name, and said it right there. Never did say anything about it, but I said it so you could see it. And I got talking to him.
And he's just like,
yeah. I said, they had cameras there, don't you? And I don't know, I didn't do it. And kept on, and I knew he was looking at that tape. And I said, so if you come up on a tape, well, he knew he done it, but he was covered up enough. He knew you wouldn't be able to tell. And he's like, let's watch the tape.
Oh.
I was like,
oh. Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm like, well, we're not going to watch it right now.
Yeah, like, well, I got to go get the VCR. So, yeah. So you are interacting with people a lot.
Oh yeah.
Like, you've got to be able to talk. If I'm looking to be a detective, you got to be willing to talk to people. You got to be willing to go out there, do your own thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. Nobody's holding your hand. So, give me an example of, all right, you get this case on your desk, or you get this case files or whatever. What's the next step? What do you do?
Usually, because any felonies, they put them in our door report. So I'll go through them, and usually I have a case log book, and I try to keep it even. It's like maybe I got this case, then Tony, then Drew, then Michael. Next case comes in is mine, and just kind of keep everything even. So you really don't know what you're going to get. But say if I got a burglary, I'll pull the report, I'll read it, see if there's anything that stands out. Usually go out to wherever it took place, just to look around. Is there any houses around? If there's houses around, then I want to go knock on doors.
Gotcha. So is that usually kind of your first thing? Is you see where it is, see what's going on, get an idea of everything, where it is?
Yeah, and I want to see if there's any neighbors. Is there a possibility somebody could have seen something?
Yeah. First of all, what's your radius? Like, where do you
We got all of Marshall County.
So all of Marshall County is where you get all your files and cases from.
Right.
But that can lead you anywhere, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like I went to St. Paul, Minnesota, and it was on a homicide case. It was the one when they was building the Chinese restaurant by Walmart.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy, people come in there and kill that guy. Well, I was the lead investigator on that. I worked for the city.
Gotcha.
And we didn't have anything to go on. And I remember Walmart has video. And so I went to Walmart, sitting there watching video. Mm-hmm. And the pixelation is terrible out in the parking lot.
Right.
But I can remember was watching it, and we saw, you could see two figures. You couldn't have as male, female, black. Well, you couldn't tell. But you could tell they walked down for like Murphy Oil, and they walked in that direction. And by the time I got down there, the pixelations about they just kind of disappeared. So we thought,
interesting.
Yeah. So we went to Murphy Oil, and they got cameras. So we pulled it, and we found two Hispanics. Well, then we went to the Ford dealership and talked to them. They're like, yeah, there was two Hispanics sitting out here eating some beanie weenies or something up under that shade tree. Go over there, well, we find a beanie weenie can and spoon. Don't know if it's evidence. Don't even know if it has anything to do with it. You know, we still didn't know who these guys were. We put the word out. We started hitting neighborhoods where a lot of Hispanics live, trying to find names. A lady come up to us, and she knew them, and one of them she only known, the only thing she called him was Mohawk. She knows his name, just Mohawk. And the other one, we had a name on. So we were kind of looking at these two, but we still didn't have enough time to it. Well, we got looking through some old cases, and like a month earlier, the Mohawk and this other guy had pulled a knife on a Hispanic guy or something, and nothing was ever done. So we said, well, let's work that. And we worked that and got enough that we could get a warrant on both those. And we had it, I remember we had it in the computer, we had the one guy's name, and the other guy was just with Mohawk.
He was still just Mohawk.
So we had warrants on them for that we could put in, you know, the NCIC in case they was picked, because they done left town. It's probably a week, 2 weeks later, because I remember it was like.
So at this point, are you kind of just waiting around?
Just,
you're like, oh man,
it got to the point, because we had more TB agents come down. We walked neighborhoods trying to get information, and it'd been a week or two. And it was kind of at the point like, okay, what do we do? I remember we was having a meeting, the DA, chief of police, TBI, detectives. And when I was there, we got a phone call, and dispatch comes up, hey, there's some officer from Minnesota wanting to talk. They think I got one of these guys. So we took the phone call, and they had the one that we had the name on.
Oh, wow.
And we said, was there another guy with them? And he's like, yeah, there's another Hispanic guy with him. But we didn't. He said, I run his name, but nothing come back on him.
Right, you don't know who the other guy's name is anyways, right?
So we told him, so we want him. He said, give me about 15 minutes. He called us back and said, we got him. And which, that was on a Friday. We left out early Saturday morning and flew to St. Paul, interviewed him, which they end up, you know, I didn't do it, he done it. And the other ones, I didn't do it, he done it.
Is that a common thing?
Yes. And but we end up charging them. And then whenever me and Wayne was working the crime scene, on the back door is a metal door, and there's a big bloody palm print. And we just cut that metal door, cut that palm print out, and submitted it. And I ended up having to fingerprint the two guys. Well, TBI, if I have your fingerprint, they won't come and testify that it's your fingerprint unless they're 100% sure.
Gotcha.
For 99% sure, they ain't going to cut it. Got to be 100%. Well, they told me, you know, it's this one's fingerprint. We're like 97% sure. But we can't say anything to 100%, so we need you to fingerprint him. One of them, we had a week-long trial. He was found guilty. I can't remember what he got out of it. I'm thinking life plus 20 or something like that. And then the other one, I think, pled out and took like Life or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But it's, I've gotten to travel some on cases.
Mm-hmm. That was going to be my next question is, how much have you traveled?
That's the farthest I've ever went on a case. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been to Panama City Beach, Florida on a case.
That's pretty far.
And it was fun. I volunteered for that.
Yeah, you're like, Panama City, yep, I'm in.
Went and collected evidence and stuff. Got a guy we had on a burglary. But most of our cases, may take you to Nashville.
Gotcha.
Columbia, Giles County. We work a lot with other agencies, detectives. Kind of got contacts. If I need something in Murray County or Columbia, I got a detective I can call, or Giles County or Williamson County, or
So it's Bedford. It just boils down to you using every single possible asset to figure out who it was, where it was, who did it, all that stuff that you typically think. So when you watch it on TV, are you like, this is dumb? This is nowhere near.
Yeah,
what? Usually. All right, I've heard that. I wanted to ask you, like, you're like, nah, this is no.
It's just like the whole, they have a fingerprint, it shows them in a database and pictures are going by.
Yeah,
and stop.
Yep.
That's them.
Yeah. It's more you send it off and you're like.
6 months later.
Yeah.
It takes a while, but it's, TV, I guess it's got to, they only have an hour.
Yeah, it's fair for them to do that, but I just wondered if you watch that and you're like, no.
But just some of the stuff on there is pretty funny. It'd be great. And that's the bad thing, because we'll have people that, that's just like that one guy on that homicide. Mm-hmm. I was done told that's his print. Mm-hmm. We just need 100% print. Mm-hmm. And it took me 4 days. I probably spent 30 to 40 hours printing a guy that I knew that was his print just to get a match of that print. So, it ain't like.
It ain't like, here,
just print.
We got him. Yeah.
It's got to be, I got to find things in it. And I've had a few hits where I've sent them off on a burglary, and, 6 months, 9 months later, they'll tell me. Same thing with, like DNA, blood.
Mm-hmm. So where'd you learn all of these different things you can use at your disposal? Do you just learn as you go? Like, okay, I think I need this, or I need that, or do you ask around? Is that a big part of it, or?
A lot of it you learn as you go.
Okay.
Same thing, you're at another department or something, and they have something, you're like, that's pretty cool. We need that.
Oh, okay.
You come back. And I've been off to, it's called Surgery School in North Carolina, which they make all the fingerprint dust and things like that. Mm-hmm. And went there for a week for a class. And, some of the stuff that you can do is pretty amazing. I mean, that they show us that we can do. And I haven't tried any, but like fingerprints off duct tape. Where the duct tape's done been squunched up, and you know how hard duct tape is.
Yeah.
But you can get fingerprints off of it.
Oh, wow. What does it take to be successful?
I think just you got to want to do it. Police work on TV is just really, really exciting. I mean, you're in chases and shooting and
drifting.
Yeah, and but in real life, the regular day in an officer is boring. Tedious. You take like one of our deputies, one's working today. Well, if they don't have any calls, all they're doing is riding back roads. You're just riding around. So that gets old after a while. I guess there's no excitement in it. But then, you spend half the day with nothing going on, and then all it takes is one phone call. And
it's, completely changes everything.
Yeah, things change. And, it's kind of like you don't never know what the day's going to hold. Something different every day.
I mean, that seems exciting to me.
And it did, and that's what I like about it, because
you never know.
I don't know what's going to happen Monday. I'll kind of look at my schedule and know that I'm going to do this, but
you really don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I end up getting a call here, end up having to do this. Something else comes in.
some people have these ideas, and if you talk to them wrong, they already have this opinion of you. They don't have any idea of who you are. So I could see that being a thing. Do you deal with that a lot, or?
I've always tried to treat everybody the same, or I always try to be polite. And now, if you get unpolite with me, I can get unpolite back.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give you that opportunity. I'm going to try to talk to you, man to man. But if you give me a hard time, start running your mouth.
Your chance is gone.
Yeah, I mean, I can escalate up and get my voice up.
So do you have to deal with confrontation when you're out there, asking questions, doing things like that? Do people give you a lot of pushback?
Sometimes. I mean, if you're out and you're trying to, especially if I'm trying to talk to you, about your neighbor's burglary, and I have a good idea that you done it. If I come up and say, "Look, Zach, you done it," and you're like, "No, I didn't," I say, "You're a liar."
Oh yeah.
As soon as I use that word liar, it's a confrontation word.
Oh yeah. So it's like, oh, really?
So I'm going to try to talk to you to get you to my office. I'm not going to call you a liar.
Right.
I don't think you give me the whole truth.
Yeah.
And I usually want to, when I interview somebody, maybe I'll come to your house and interview you here because you feel comfortable, but I want to get you somewhere where I'm comfortable. So I may do my first interview here at your house and then say, well, day or two, can you come down to the office and just tidy some of this up? And then I get you out of
your comfort zone, and now you're in mine.
And then, start hammering on you or whatever, what I know.
And just like that, that's it for part 1 of this awesome interview. I had so much fun talking to Jimmy. I really hope you guys learned something. Be on the lookout for that part 2 coming your way. And if this sounded really interesting to you, don't be afraid to email me at occupationpodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's occupationpodcast@gmail.com. Let me know if you're interested, and maybe I could help you find out more information or get you who you need to talk to. Also, email me if there's any questions that I didn't really hit or anything you guys want me to dig deeper into for further interviews. I will definitely take any feedback that you can give me. We're trying to make this thing as best as we can, and we're going to adapt as much as possible. So thank you guys so much again for listening. Be sure to follow us on social media at O Nation Podcast. That's at O Nation Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You'll get some behind-the-scenes action. You can keep up to date. Also, be sure to review and subscribe to the podcast on whatever you're listening to. That's super important to us. That way we can take your feedback and get it in front of as many eyeballs as we can. So at the end of the day, maybe, just maybe, detective is the occupation that you've been looking for. Thanks, and see you guys on the next one.